Oh, man, another really rough Sunday of football in Denver, Colorado. This one between the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos out in Charlotte. DMAC and Jake Shapiro. Jake filling in here, me for Rachel Vigil, who is out not feeling too well. The Broncos did not look like they were feeling too well today, DMAC. They came out flat. They came out lethargic. They made a lot of mistakes. They almost seemed like they were playing for their coach to be fired at times. It was a really, really rough football game.
Yeah, first off, Rachel, get better soon. We miss you, Rachel. So we want you to be feeling better as soon as possible. So start there. Next to the Broncos, I mean, you just got it handed to you. The final's 23-10, so you do lose by more than one score. And aside from the 100 attempts you had to score a touchdown, because you had drops and penalties, and they're playing a soft zone. They didn't care at that point if you accumulated some yards. That's the only thing that made it look somewhat respectable. And then you recover an onside kick, so I guess that it becomes a little bit competitive. But Jake, you just got your butts kicked by a bad team, starting Sam Darnold for the first time all year. You just lost to Sam Darnold, okay? So you say in Mike Evans' khaki pants world, whatever you want about Darnold and Mayfield and Rosen and all that. The Denver Broncos just got beat by Sam Darnold. It's not like his numbers were incredible, 11 of 19 for 164, a touchdown and no pick, but Jake, this was embarrassing. The defense got pushed around. The offense had no answer. Mike Purcell was screaming at Russell Wilson. Who knows what he said there? And it's clear that this just isn't working with Nathaniel Hackett and his coaching staff. It just isn't working. And somebody of significance has to be held accountable. It can't be as simple as we're going to trade Bradley Chubb and cut Melvin Gordon. This thing is broken. And now, Jake, you got the Ravens and the Chiefs before you play the Cardinals. I mean, could it get worse, Jake? I mean, as a CU fan, I bet you thought it couldn't get worse until you saw what was going on with Utah. There's always a bottom floor. And below the bottom floor, there's a basement. And then there's a subterranean level. And then there's a bomb shelter. There is room to grow until you get to the core.
Yeah, DMAC, I actually do want to focus on that Mike Purcell thing you just brought up, because I think this will be the most talked about thing from today's game. Mike Purcell commits a penalty after a field goal that didn't really matter too much. Big play given up.
No excuse for it. Just get off the field. Like, you don't have to be messing around with that crap. But yeah,
he yelling at the Panthers, gets off the field, continues to jaw, then turns those emotions. It looks like Russell Wilson maybe said something to him. Then Purcell goes at Russell Wilson. You've got your nose tackle, a veteran nose tackle, basically jawing at your quarterback. And then because of that 15-yard penalty, the Broncos then muff the punt, fumble the kickoff. They come back and score another field goal. And then it seems like maybe there's some confusion as to whether Hackett was going to even let Russ play again. It looked like maybe for a minute Brett Rippon was going to go out there. Right. So that whole sequence of events in the second half was really interesting, because it showed to me, and Mace is saying this in the group chat, that this team is held together by duct tape at this point.
Yeah, I think probably what Hackett told Wilson was, you got one more shot here. Or I got to make a change, something along those lines. That's what it looked to be. And, they got a little something going there. So I guess you avoid the embarrassment, but I wouldn't have even waited. It was not happening with Russell Wilson. I would have put Rippon in. And it's not that I think Rippon is a better quarterback than Russell Wilson. I think you've got a whole lot of nothing with both guys, but you just needed to change. You needed to show everybody, like, we're going to put the team first. And the fact that they didn't make the change is, I mean, obviously it's not going well. You saw what Mike Purcell, what do you think? He's the only guy that feels like that? You think he's a little fed up with the rah, let's ride stuff? I mean, I doubt it. And it's not like the defense played great, Jake. They didn't. And now you're getting to quitting time. You're getting to quitting time where a great defense is just going to sort of be like, what am I doing here? We are 1-2-3 Cancun right now. And so, yeah, it could get worse. It could. And the only way it won't is if you make a change with the coaches, or the rest of the season is going to be beyond embarrassing. And normally, if you had a draft pick at this point, if you had a draft pick and not such a ridiculous commitment to a quarterback who's not working out, I'd be fine letting the coaches stay. I would be, because just play it out, man. Play it out. Get the best pick you can. But right now, the Seahawks must be doing a happy dance, because they're going to, Jake, they may have a top 3 pick. I mean, what is the next game the Broncos exactly are going to win?
Yeah, right now would be the 3rd overall pick in the draft. It depends on what happens in the Vegas game. I do want to ask you, D-Mac, with Nathaniel Hackett, there's a case to be made that you don't gain anything by firing him at this point because your season is already lost. I would not make that case. You had 7,000 no-shows at the Raiders game last week. You have a fan base who, I'm seeing the comments from you guys right now. I'm seeing the comments on Twitter, Facebook, and it seems like it's not even mad. It's just apathetic, and I don't want to watch this anymore. So to save the Broncos from further embarrassment and the lack of people showing up, do you almost have to fire Hackett at this point because it is so bad?
No doubt about it. And I think you have to do a stunt interim coach, like Jeff Saturday is a stunt interim coach. I think that's smart, and that'll rally up the fan base. So it's not like Evero's going to really fire up the fan base. Never mind, what was being floated today? The old guy there, the defensive the defensive assistant who we don't know who does, the old guy. Oh my God, I'm forgetting his name. Help me in the comments. Yeah, our consultant, old guy, ex-head coach, that guy. Anyways, I can't even think of his name, so it's not like he's going to get everybody fired up. Somebody will text you in here in a second. The problem is just that those sort of moves don't do anything for you. No, you need somebody, or you're just not going to have. I mean, what is it, Jake? It's Arizona and the Chargers. Are those the last 2 home games after Kansas City? So I think 3 home games left.
I've got the schedule before today, going into today, and you've got Kansas City, Arizona, and the Chargers. And like you said, D-Mac, I don't think Dom Capers is going to make the fan base.
Hey, there you go. Yeah. Dom Capers. Yeah, what's Dom Capers? Yeah. Who cares about Dom Capers? I'm not even joking. You'd be so much better off like hiring Mark Schlereth to be the head coach of the team. I mean, we're talking stunt hiring before you can figure out what's what. But it's just over. I mean, it's over with Hackett. Here's who should be gone: Hackett, Outen, Bush, Barry, Dwayne Stukes. Okay, offensive line, special teams, offensive coordinator who's not good enough to be a coordinator, and Stukes with special teams was another. They recovered an onside kick. But there was disastrous things happening left and right with special teams. So the other good stunt. There's 2 other interesting stunt hires: Mike Shanahan for the rest of the season, or Gary Kubiak for the rest of the season. Gary would actually probably make the most sense with Clint calling the plays, and then you just sort of go from there. If you want to get Evero going, but Evero's probably losing a little bit of stock here, Jake. It's not like the defense has been playing lights out. It's not like he's getting them going over the past couple of games. I mean, Mike Kliss pointed out it's been 7 games in a row that teams have scored in the last 5 minutes. They didn't need to today. They could have. They could have easily. They just sat on the ball, but if they wanted to, they could have. So this game was, another disaster. Is Evero the answer? No. But we've got major freaking problems, Jake. Major. And as they pointed out in the broadcast over and over, Russell Wilson can't move. And because he can't move, there's no threat that he is going to run. So you don't have to worry about it. And you can get pressure on him with just 4 guys. That makes everything else, trickier. And if you do blitz, you're probably going to get to him. And if you don't get to him, you're going to hit him. And they did hit him a lot. He had, what are we looking at here?
He was sacked 3 times. Yeah.
10 quarterback hits, 3 sacks. So those are all hits on Russell Wilson. And the team, 3 tackles for a loss, 4 passes defended. And the loss of Bradley Chubb, we shouldn't be surprised, right? What we got? 2 quarterback hits and no sacks. we're just not getting after the quarterback. I mean, since Cho's been gone, all you're trying to do is stop them from running. And Jake, they didn't stop them from running. Carolina, 11. I'm sorry. Holy cow, Jake, this is crazy. 46 carries, 46 rushing attempts, Jake. Dude, for 185 yards. They just pushed us around. And look at time of possession. Let me do that real quick. Now, this evened out just a tad because they were playing so soft at the end. But time of possession, 37 minutes for the Panthers and basically 33 minutes for the Broncos. Holy cow, Jake. I mean,
no, not 33, 23. 23.
Sorry, 23. So 37, 23, 14. So the Panthers almost had the ball, Jake, for a full quarter more than the Broncos. A full quarter. That's crazy. So that final score does not tell the tale of the tape. The tale of the tape is that the Panthers just owned the ball. They pushed the Broncos around. That was a humiliating. I mean, I guess it's not 40-10 or 40-3, but that is an embarrassing score.
But what's the point of scoring 40 points if you're the opposing team when you know the Broncos can only score 17, on a good day? This is the second time this season that the Broncos have lost by more than one score. And both of those games, the Raiders game in Las Vegas and this one, they got absolutely worked on the ground. You talked about the pass rush a little bit without Bradley Chubb. Your co-host, Derek Wolf, on The Drive was talking about this all day long, the lack of a pass rush. I also noticed the lack of a run defense. You have guys just failing to set the edge left and right. There's no containment. I don't know a single thing that the Broncos did well in this game.
Yeah, you got me. They didn't stop the run. I mean, yeah, even Patrick Surtain got burned, a couple of times. And in Carolina, hey, dude, they only threw the ball 19 times. Because, listen, if you don't have to throw the ball, you shouldn't throw the ball. If you can dominate a team without throwing the ball, the game's going to end quick, and you're going to win. And, yeah, the score might not be outlandish because you score points throwing the ball. But if you can win this way, why wouldn't you? I mean, Jake, 45 carries. 45 carries, Jake, to 19 pass attempts. And they led start to finish. So, no, really, really embarrassing loss for the Broncos. Oh, sorry.
All good. You had Russell Wilson with 19 completions. Sam Darnold had 19 attempts in this game, which makes it even look worse that DJ Moore went for 4 receptions. 100. Oh, I'm doing the same thing over here, D-Mac, with the box score.
Sorry about that.
It happens. Yeah, DJ Moore go for this. The DJ Moore's day, 4 receptions for 103 yards and a touchdown, looks even worse when you consider how little Carolina did throw the ball in this game and how little threats they have elsewhere on the field. We're looking at a Carolina team who's already decided to sell off this year. They already gave away Christian McCaffrey. They're on their 3rd quarterback of the year. You mentioned it off the top of the show in terms of reaching rock bottom and getting to the bottom.
Not there.
If we're not there, and you might be right that this defense hasn't truly quit yet, and we might see that, this is going to be a rough final few weeks of the season. I do want to circle back to something you talked about earlier. Clint Kubiak, second game as a play caller. Are you noticing anything differently with Clint calling the plays compared to Nathaniel?
Well, no, because they're not moving Russ around because they can't. He can't. There's not much you can do. In fact, with what you're seeing with Clint Kubiak, he gives you a touch of sympathy for Nathaniel Hackett, but it's small. Listen, Jake, this thing got screwed up from the get-go, unfortunately. And they probably don't fire George Paton right away. It'd be fine by me. I mean, what has George Paton done well? You tell me, man, what has George Paton done well? What did the Broncos do well today? Nothing. What did Clint Kubiak do more so than Hackett? Nothing. Who's Russell Wilson? That it's officially a decline, not a dip. We are 3-8, dude. You're 12 weeks into the season. This is a dip. This ain't a decline. It's a dip. And to be an average quarterback feels like a stretch. I know this is ridiculous, but you got to start thinking about other quarterback options in the future. And that likely means some harsh realities about drafting quarterbacks in the 4th, 5th rounds and giving them a legitimate shot. I mean, it sucks because of the money that you have, but you got to do it. And you can't waste a first-round pick on a quarterback because you need help so many other places. And it's not an automatic, Jake, that your quarterback actually starts. No, this is really super lousy. You've got to.
Yeah, you can see Broncos, Russell Wilson, the quarterback for the Broncos, is towards the bottom or at the bottom for every single statistic for these qualified stats on NFL on CBS. We lost you there for a second, DMAC, but
Sorry about that.
It happens. But with Russ, you aren't getting off this contract for a couple years. You don't have a first round pick towards the top of the draft this year. It'll be towards the bottom of the first round. Are we looking at not only this year as being a bad season, but next year approached as a rebuild, no matter who is the GM and the coach? Because, you know, this is going to be the longest streak of under 500 football in the NFL between this year and possibly next year. The Jets are going to go above 500 this season.
Yeah, how did the Jets do today, by the way? I didn't catch them. I know Trevor Siemian, wasn't it Siemian playing for them?
They beat the Bears.
They beat the Bears. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Siemian was with the Bears. So they beat the Bears. Okay. Yeah, they're probably going to make it to the playoffs, right? They're going to get darn close. Look at what the Dolphins are doing. The Vikings are on a roll. The Giants are playing well. It's crazy, dude. It's absolutely crazy what's going on in terms of how the Broncos are just, God, I'm looking at this. The Browns just beat the Bucks in overtime. I mean, listen, man, if you can't beat the bad teams, Jake, guess what? You are the bad team. It's not you, it's me. And in that case, it's the Broncos. You gotta make some changes. Greg Penner needs to make some changes. Listen, Greg Penner should probably just dismiss George Paton. He really should, but that's not going to happen until the offseason. If George Paton wants to save his job, he's got to make changes, Jake. He's got to. You don't have a choice. I mean, we should be hearing tomorrow that Nathaniel Hackett has been relieved of his job, and then like I said, Outen, Butch Barry, Dwayne Stukes, these guys got to be held accountable. So I would do a stunt hire for an interim coach. If you don't want to do that, then put in Evero and see what you got, or he may be gone next year anyway. David Shaw from Stanford announced that he's not going back to Stanford, and I would assume that there's some sort of relationship with Condoleezza Rice and David Shaw from their shared time at Stanford. I mean, it's not like there aren't other options. They're not great. Start talking to the Saints about, making a trade for Sean Payton. He floated his name out there through his agents. Kind of a nicer job, but if you pay him a lot of money and give him control, Jake, it's all about money and power. That's it. He'll come here if you give him the money and the power. So you got to start working like that if you're Greg Penner. You gotta. You've got to send a message to this great and loyal fan base that you actually care. If you do nothing, it shows you don't know what you're doing and maybe you don't care. And this thing was just a toy anyway. That's what it shows if you do nothing.
Out of this 53-man roster, how many players are still on the Denver Broncos the next time they are on the postseason?
Oh, wow. You're asking me when they get to the postseason next.
Yep.
Yeah.
I personally say
Pat Surtain, one.
I'd go two. I think Javonte Williams will still be around. I don't know if he'll still be the RB1.
Dude, he's a running back. Forget it. No, one. The only player probably on this team by the time the Broncos get to a playoff is probably Patrick Surtain.
Wow. So you're going a couple years out, which means it might be a couple more years of this. Do you maybe hire, when you are looking at new head coach and a new GM, do you maybe hire somebody younger, a little less experienced because of the potential is there, and you start building up your roster and building up your coach? Because, I mean, personally, I don't have the expectation that the Broncos need to turn this thing around next year.
Well, listen, I've said it a million times, so I'll just say it another time. I would buy Omaha Productions for $1 billion, so Peyton Manning doesn't have that on his plate anymore. That's what they're looking for anyway, so just give him the money, $1 billion, and give him an ownership stake. Make him the president of football. Go after Sean Payton with GM, coach sort of responsibilities. Peyton Manning doesn't want day-to-day sort of operations, but he wants to be able to keep his, toe in the pool. And that's what I would do. I would hire Peyton Manning. I would buy Omaha Productions because I think they're trying to build that up and they're doing a good job with it. I'd buy that for $1 billion, give them generational wealth, and bring Peyton Manning into the football fold. From there, I would more or less trust his decision-making process, but I think that would start with Sean Payton. I think Peyton Manning already is talking to Greg Penner. They have a relationship, and he makes the most sense for this organization. It's a matter of time before Peyton Manning gets back into the NFL in that type of role. Somebody will make it happen for him at some point, and I just say get to it. So that's my number one thing, but I'm realistic, Jake. I understand that's a long shot, and it's very complicated because it involves a bunch of other crap. So in lieu of that, you just got to do your best to go after Sean Payton.
Yeah, and what is maybe most disappointing, at least from my perspective coming into this season, is Nathaniel Hackett was supposed to be an offensive wizard, worked with Aaron Rodgers, one of those offensive guru type guys, and they're down to 14.27 points per game, which is the lowest in the NFL since the 2000 Browns. We've got James Merilatt, who just heard from Nathaniel Hackett minutes ago, and I saw that Nathaniel Hackett said he did not see the fight between Mike Purcell and Russell Wilson right in front of him. James, what else do we got today?
Yeah, that was laughable. Like when you watch the footage of it, it's Nathaniel Hackett in the middle and those two guys right behind him, but somehow he didn't see it, which if you want something that just epitomizes how clueless and out of touch Nathaniel Hackett is, maybe that's it. If he's being honest, that's a guy who just isn't paying attention. But let me see if I completed the tic-tac-toe here. We had a got to be better on third down. Everybody's got to be better, and it starts with me. And we're constantly evaluating everything. We did get all three of those today. I got tic-tac-toe in my on my board. I mean, it was just more of the same, right? It was just cliche after cliche. He was asked by Troy Rank if he's worried about his job status. It's about the team. I don't know what he's going to say about that. I'm fine with that answer. But, I mean, talk about a team that's just grasping at straws here. Nothing gets better. It's the same thing over and over and over again. If anything, it's a little bit worse every single week. Today was laughable. We constantly talk about it, various shows on the station, us on coffee break and post-game and halftime of, can it get any worse? Well, yeah, it always does, because today was worse. Today was worse than anything else they've had this season, which is saying something, because they weren't in it against a bad Carolina team that was led by Sam Darnold. They were bad in all three phases today. That was a disaster. It was just a total mess. And you know what? Nathaniel Hackett's post-game press conference fit right with it. That was a total mess as well.
Well, we talked at halftime, James.
Wait, hold on. Are we not going to say anything about the background of James Merilatt? Or is that just going to go unsaid?
I was going to wait till the end, D-Mac, and make the joke of James didn't say 1, 2, 3 Cancun. He's 1, 2, 3 Bahamas, and he's already done it.
I mean,
I spent 4 hours of my day in paradise watching this team and doing all this nonsense. Talk about a waste of time. Oh, my gosh. I mean,
James has had the Jake, you look like you're being held prisoner. I actually am my background sucks. But James Merilatt, with 1,000% wins the award for best backgrounds. And he's been in London and now the Bahamas. I mean, that is outstanding.
Yeah, it was. I'll put it this way: the day wasn't a total loss, right? Like there was a bad stretch, but the day wasn't a total loss. If I could just use the old Men in Black pen and ignore the Broncos game, it'd be all good.
All right, let me just point some things out. We got to be better on third down. They were 4 of 14, while the Panthers were 2 of 12. Yeah, okay, fine. I mean, whatever. Here's the real problem, and I guess Hackett doesn't want to say it. Your defense is quitting on you, coach. How do you respond to that? The best thing you have going is your defense, and they're quitting. Proof? They ran it 45 times on you. They had the ball for almost 14 minutes more, and your special teams guy, defense, Mike Purcell, apparently doesn't even care. He's getting penalties, and he's screaming at your quarterback. Your team is actually falling apart, and it's the better part of your team, coach. I don't know what he's going to say to that. Nothing really. But I'm beyond asking Nathaniel Hackett questions. Asking Nathaniel Hackett questions is like asking Santa Claus what he's doing on the 24th. You know, it's you get it. You understand what's happening. You know, so I don't need to ask Hackett any more questions.
Well, and you point out the defense, and look, to some extent, I feel bad for the defense, right? Like, they could go out and pitch a shutout. It would be a close game. But did they have a sack today?
No.
Did they force a turnover today?
What was their turnover?
It was a
muffed punt.
Not really.
A muffed punt.
Oh,
so the defense didn't force it.
No.
So the defense doesn't make any plays either, right? Like, so, okay. I mean, that's their job, is to get the ball back. They force a fumble of Sam Darnold. Of course, he recovers it. How many times have we seen that this year? And he rolls into the end zone because nobody's paying attention. It's the same kind of stuff we saw under VJ, we saw under Vic. It's just a team that is just – it's the little things, but when you add them all up, they turn into big things. But this defense, they can't point the finger at Russell Wilson. Mike Purcell, what play did you make today? Russell Wilson's out there taking a beating every single play. Mike Purcell has never accomplished squat in this league. Nice story, local kid. But give me a break. You committed a dumb penalty. The Panthers got the kickoff from the 50, turned into a short kick that Jalen Virgil returned, who doesn't normally return kicks, and he fumbled the ball. So that's on you, Mike Purcell, and instead he's yelling at Russell Wilson like it's Russell Wilson's fault. Listen, he deserves plenty of blame. He didn't play well today.
Yeah,
He played well all year. But come on.
Okay, James, fine. But I'm going to guess that came after Russell Wilson said something. Like
Sure, and I bet he said something like, hey, we can't do that. Because the head coach was standing right there, and he didn't say squat.
Yeah.
Did the head coach come over and tell the guy who just got a 15-yard penalty, you can't do that? Of course he didn't, because he wants to make sure he gets a Christmas card from Mike Purcell because he wants to be everybody's friend, right? Somebody's got to do it. Who yelled at him? Only guy who yelled at him was Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson can't do everything for this organization. I mean, who else is doing anything? Who's the disciplinarian? Who's the one yelling at people?
Come on.
I mean,
well, listen, James, it's not going to go well for you if you're not doing anything either, like Russell Wilson, and you chirp, even if you're well within your rights. If you're not doing anything either the whole year, you lose that privilege.
Fine, but so he's just not supposed to say anything, and then we'd be bashing.
Well, that's right. It's not
leader.
His job, dude. He's not a coach, and he's. I know he acts like one, but he's not.
He's on a team without one. So
okay.
somebody's got to do it.
Hey, we're on the same page. It's a mess, and it starts from the top down. And for Hackett to go into the presser and say he wasn't aware of something is another thing. Like, dude, shut up. You know, yeah. I mean, you, of course you're aware of it. You're just lying about that.
Well, and here's the thing, and I'll give you a little preview on my column coming up for tomorrow at DenverFan.com. If you told me that Clark Hunt or Mark Davis or whoever owns the Chargers, what is that? Is that still the Spanos family, Dean Spanos and that family, somehow conspired to put George Paton in charge of the Broncos to kill this team for the next decade? I'd believe it, because that's more likely than George Paton actually thinks his moves have been good. I mean, this guy.
I've said it. I've challenged anybody to tell me what George Paton has done well since he's been
Patrick Tan play today.
Lousy. Again,
generational.
Lousy.
Generational.
Yeah, generational.
I mean, the guys who spin how good Pat Surtain is and spin for George Paton have zero credibility.
Zero.
Look, we can yell about Nathaniel Hackett. He should be fired. We can yell about Russell Wilson. Shouldn't have got the contract he got. They're stuck with him through 2027. So if you don't want to watch Russell Wilson, check back in a half decade, because he's going to be here. I tweeted his dead cap numbers. He's here. You can scream about those two all you want. The number one guy who's responsible for this mess and this debacle, not John Elway, it's not Joe Ellis, it's not any of the previous regime. It is George Paton. He is terrible at his job. Why on earth would you fire Nathaniel Hackett and not fire George Paton? He just made a list of 10 people to interviewed them all, and picked Nathaniel Hackett. And then he gave $250 million to Russell Wilson without ever seeing him throw a ball in a Broncos uniform because of how he looked in training camp. We were all there. It took a week before he had a highlight. I mean, George Paton is atop the list of incompetent people within this organization, and it's a distant gap before you get to Nathaniel Hackett. It's a chasm.
Well, let me ask you guys this real quick.
Yeah.
What are the chances Nathaniel Hackett is the head coach? Give me a percentage odds. What is the chances he's the head coach by Baltimore next week? And give me the percentage. What are the chances George Paton is the general manager start of next season?
Coin flip on Hackett next week, and I'll go 20% on Paton being the coach next year, or the GM next year.
So you think there's an 80% chance he's fired?
Yes.
Okay.
I think Nathaniel Hackett will be the head coach next week. So I'm going to put that. It's not 100, right? Like George Paton may figure out how he can save himself by firing him, but I think it's 80, 85% because George Paton knows as soon as he fires him, he's gone. I think they're a package deal. I think he's hoping that they somehow look better in the last 6 weeks. He can blame injuries. He can get Mike and all the guys from the state-sponsored place to tweet about how, look at all the games they've missed from starters. Like, that's going to be the story. That's going to be the spin, and try to run it back for a second year with Nathaniel Hackett. I actually think that's about a 50-50 shot. I really do, which is hard to believe, but, hey, he's still here. I think George Paton and Nathaniel Hackett being back next year is 50-50. I think any change between now and the end of the season, I'll be shocked. I give it 15-20%.
But the truth is, just to be fair, we really don't know. The only thing we've seen Greg Penner do is give Russell Wilson a lot of money based on the advice of George Paton. We don't know Greg Penner. We don't know Rob Walton. We don't know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. So we're kind of finding it out. So we're guessing based on our knowledge, but we don't live in a billionaire's bubble.
Well, here's the thing, though. They're going to lose next week. I know the Ravens are struggling today with the Jaguars, but they're going to lose in Baltimore. They're 3-9. The Chiefs are coming in, having beaten this team 13 times in a row. That building is going to be half Chiefs fans.
Oh, probably, yeah.
So, and then after that, good luck getting people to come out and not having 10, 15, 20,000 no-shows for the rest of the season. I'm curious to see what Greg Penner is going to do. I guess this is the first test because after today, guys, there's no reason to believe anything's going to turn around. The Panthers are awful, and the Broncos got dominated. They were down 23-3 in the fourth quarter. If you don't make a change right now, you're not making one. You're not making one till the offseason at the earliest. And it's to me, it's more likely than not that you're not going to make one. That you're going to talk about newness and injuries and all the other excuses we've heard of. I'll believe it when I see it.
The Jaguars actually are just about to beat the Baltimore Ravens. So you're going to have a ticked off Ravens team next week in Baltimore. Yep. We will have post-game live coverage from that one as we do every single week. We will also have coffee break tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Hopefully we'll hear from DMAC and James. You can definitely read James's column on DenverFan.com. I'm Jake Shapiro. Sorry about the Broncos, but we're happy to chat with you any time of the day. Find out who works for the Denver Broncos on DenverFan.com and 104.3 The Fan in the coming days. Make sure you tune in, and we'll see you later.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
I'll give you $100 if you jump in that pool right now.
100?
100. Right now.
With my sweatshirt on and my shorts?
Don't forget it. You're going to do it. You call my bluff. Forget it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I don't have the money.
I was going to do it. Listen, I've been hitting the sports book here. I need the $100, so I'm going to do
it. Forget it. Okay, you're going to do it. See you later. Right. We'll see you tomorrow. I need $100
coffee break.